right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kanaiba coming at you once again with this video titled More Proof That Planned Parenthood is Meant to Destroy Israelite Women. Now, actually, it's meant to destroy the whole Israelite nation. But this aspect of it is meant to destroy Israelite women. Okay? And what am I talking about? This particular video that I'm doing right now is inspired by a video from Planned Parenthood. It's from their YouTube channel. Okay? And the title of their video is What is Virginity? Okay, so they basically have a section within that organization where they teach sex education, if I'm not mistaken. And what's sad about this is that their target audience, if I'm not mistaken, is basically kids in junior high and high school, middle school and high schoolers. Okay, so they're really trying to sexualize children or the youth. Okay, but this particular video comes from Planned Parenthood. Okay, and what she attempts to do is destroy the concept of virginity. Okay, and it's all propaganda. Okay, that's all she's doing. It's propaganda behind them trying to destroy the concept of virginity, because what you have to understand is what they really want to do, and I'm talking about Esau and the rest of the powers that be. They want mainly the Israelite woman, but women in general, to be a microcosm or a representation of the whore of Babylon. Okay, because of course this is Babylon. This is Babylon, modern day Babylon. Okay, which is America, and they want the women here of this society to basically have that whore archetype. And the best way to do that is to remove the concept of virginity, right? So what I want to do is I want to actually give my critique on this particular video. And of course, we're going to go into the scriptures and really get some insight into what's going on here. Okay? So without further ado, let's take a look at the video. All right?
Virginity. What is it? And what's the big deal about losing it? Let me cut to the chase. Virginity is a completely made-up concept. It's a term that was created simply to control and shame people, mainly women. A virgin is someone who's never had sex.
Now notice she said virginity is a made-up concept that was created to shame people, mainly women, right? So again, you have to understand they want to take away this aspect of shame away from women, because they want to push this whore archetype off on women in general, and mainly the Israelite woman. Okay, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American women, right? But I want you to pay close attention to what she said. She said virginity is a made-up concept. Then she goes on to actually give the definition of a virgin, which is somebody that's never had sex. If that's a made-up concept, then how does it have a definition if it's something that really doesn't exist? Okay, what after that statement, what I have to do here, and I'm going to start incorporating this meme more in my videos when somebody says something completely stupid. Okay, y'all remember this particular scene from the movie You Got Served? Watch this.
Sit your ass down.
I'm gonna have to start incorporating that every time somebody says something stupid, because what she just said was completely stupid, and she needs to have a seat. Okay, to say that virginity is a completely made up concept and then go on to define virginity. Okay, which is it? Is it made up or does it actually exist? Okay, but again, that's how nonsensical this video is, and you're going to see it as we continue forward. Okay, so let's move on and let's continue with the video.
But it's not as simple as it seems. For one thing, medically, virginity isn't a real thing.
So medically, virginity isn't a real thing. Okay, well, let's examine that. If virginity isn't a real thing medically, then please explain to me why a lot of you women were in an uproar. What was this, a few years back, when the rapper T.I. dealt with his daughter concerning her virginity the way that he did. Okay, didn't he? If my memory serves me correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did he not take his daughter to the doctor to ensure that she really was a virgin? Did he not do that? But wait a minute, I thought virginity was not a real thing medically. If that's the case, then why did T.I. do what he did? And why did a lot of women like this get in an uproar over him actually caring about his daughter's virginity? Explain that. Exactly. But anyway, let's get back to it.
In some cultures, people place a lot of importance on the hymen, a thin, fleshy tissue located at the opening of your vagina, as a marker of virginity. But the status of your hymen doesn't actually mean anything.
Well, madam, if the status of a woman's hymen doesn't mean anything, please, I'm going to go back to my original example. Exactly what was the gynecologist checking for when dealing with T.I.'s daughter concerning her virginity? It was to see if her hymen was still intact. Okay, and watch this. I don't think this was a one-time thing with T.I. I think this is something he would do yearly. Okay, why isn't it that if that doesn't mean anything, the hymen doesn't mean anything concerning virginity, why didn't the doctor over the years give T.I. a heads up from his medical expertise and tell him, we don't have to check her hymen, that has nothing to do with her virginity? Why was T.I. continuing to go back yearly with his daughter? Okie dokie. So with that, let's continue. Let's see what else she has to say here.
That's because having penis and vagina sex is not the only way a hymen can stretch open. It can happen by putting something in your vagina like a tampon or a finger, riding a bike, or doing sports. So you can't tell if someone's had sex by the way their hymen looks or feels.
And this is where you have to be careful dealing with the modern day woman. Okay? They'll mix a little bit of truth to try to justify an even bigger lie. Okay, what she just said, there's a bit of truth in it. Those types of things that she listed and certain activities can, tear a woman's hymen. But what she neglects to mention is that that's a rarity. That's not something that actually happens every day. That's not the norm. Okay, but let her tell it, the way she's implying it. She makes it seem like it's something that happens on a day-to-day basis as if it's normal. And that's not. That's not something that happens often. Okay, the usual way a woman's hymen is torn or broken is through intercourse. Okay, but again, you have to understand that there's an agenda that she's trying to push in this video. Okay, but anyway, let's get back to it.
Another reason the idea of virginity is complete nonsense is that sex means different things to different people.
And this is another thing that the modern day woman, and of course this is not all women, but the majority or most modern day women, what they'll do is they'll make up definitions to words to suit their feelings. Okay, words that already have their original definition of what it actually is. Women will take that word and make up their own definition for a specific word to suit how they feel. Okay, they'll feel like that's not the right definition for this word. So what I want to do, I want to make up this definition for that word because it makes me feel better. And that's what she's attempting to do with the definition to the word sex. Okay, sex doesn't mean different things to different people. Sex is sex. It has a definition. Okay, but let's let her continue. Okay, let's let her continue her babble here.
Generally speaking, society tends to define sex in a very narrow way. Penetration, penis into vagina.
That's not a narrow-minded way to view sex, madam. That's actually what it is. Again, she wants to change the definition to quote-unquote sex, as if it's really more than penetration, penis into vagina. And technically, that's really what sex is, or intercourse. Okay, but you're gonna see what she adds to it, and how the mental gymnastics that she goes through to try to justify virginity not being a real thing. Okay, but no, this is not a narrow-minded viewpoint. Okay, that's the literal definition to sex, madam. All right, but anyway, let's get back to it.
But where does that definition leave queer people?
There's the mental gymnastics. Did you hear the question? She says, but where does that definition, meaning penis into vagina, which is what sex is, she says, where does that definition leave queer people? Oh, the irony of what she just said. She doesn't realize she really just cut herself. Okay? From a biological standpoint, from a physical human standpoint, that lets you know, the actual definition of sex lets you know that there should not be rainbow people. Okay, biology itself, natural human function itself lets you know that the sodomites and the rainbow people should not exist. That should not be a thing. Okay, it's nothing wrong with the definition of sex. It's something wrong with those types of people. Okay, but again, and look at her face. She really thinks she ate. She thinks she said something heavy. No, you really just made yourself look like an idiot. Okay? But anyway, let's get back to it.
Or folks who can't or don't have penis and vagina sex.
Then they're not actually having sex, madam, by definition. So again, do you see the circles and the hoops and all the mental gymnastics she has to go through to try to justify her position about virginity? All these things she has to make up, and and all these lies about sex and really biology. Okay, she has to make this stuff up to try to justify her position. Okay, all you have to do is use common sense, and you can destroy her whole argument. Okay, but we're going to get further into it. Let's let her continue.
And choose to have oral, anal, or another type of sex instead.
Now notice what she just listed. She said, or they choose to have to have oral, anal, or another type of sex in general. Okay. Again, I got news for you, madam. None of those things are actually sex. Okay. Let's start with this, the oral. Okay. Now, technically that's not sex. Okay? If you really think about it, that would more so fall into the category of foreplay. But it's not actual sex. It's not intercourse. Okay, like I said, there's a very specific definition to the word sex, and she's trying to change that. Okay, now dealing with the second thing she mentioned, which is anal, I'll tell you what that is. That's a demon. Okay, that is an abomination. It's a demon. Okay, the rectum, that is an exit, not an entry. Okay, that's something that never should be done to begin with. Okay, be it with two men or a man with a woman. Okay, it's still wrong regarding quote unquote anal. Right? But again, this is just the mental gymnastics to try to justify her position. Okay? But again, these things by definition really aren't sex or intercourse. Okay? But anyway, let's continue.
And not everyone's first sexual experience is consensual, meaning that they were forced or pressured into having sex.
Just because a woman was pressured or forced into sex, as you put it, that doesn't take away the fact that she lost her virginity. Okay, just because she was forced, it doesn't take away the fact that she lost her virginity, and it doesn't prove a point that virginity is something that doesn't exist. Okay, I know if she was forced, the way that she lost her virginity is a very, very horrible and terrible thing, if that's the way she lost it. Okay, that's why when you go into Torah, okay, and you read about that particular situation where a woman is I can't say the word. We're gonna say R-aped. Okay, we'll put it like that. And the R-apist is likened unto a murderer. Okay, and why? Because when that particular act is done that way, that person has taken something that they can't give back. Okay, the way a murderer takes somebody's life, they can't give it back. It's the same thing with an R-apist. Okay, you've taken something that you cannot give back, especially if that woman was a virgin. She can't get that back. Okay, and even if the woman is not a virgin and you did that to her, okay, it's still something innate in her that you've taken from her that she really can't get back. Okay, that's how terrible that is. And that's why, according to Torah, that particular individual that did that act to that woman is to be put to death. Okay, the scriptures tell us that if this is done and the woman cries out, meaning it was not consensual, that particular person that committed that crime has to be put to death. Okay, that's Torah. Right? But anyway, let's actually get back to what she was saying here. Okay?
There is also a double standard on who carries the burden of virginity. Society puts pressure on men for not having sex at the exact same time they shame women for having it. Make it make sense.
Well, it makes all the sense in the world when you understand the reality that men and women are not the same, nor are we equal. Okay, it doesn't make sense to you because you're under the false impression that men and women are equal and the same, and we're not. Okay. Now, first, let's simply start with this, that a man technically cannot physically be a virgin. Okay, that's not a title that's placed on men in the physical aspect. Okay, and before any of you quote unquote Christians want to run to Revelation chapter 14, that's not literal. Okay, when it's talking about the 144,000 being talked about as or being labeled as virgins. Okay, it's not talking about literally. Okay, but what a man can be is what's known as a eunuch. Okay, and there's different definitions to the word eunuch. Okay, biblically speaking. Okay, now we have, of course, the typical or the more known definition of a eunuch, of course, is a man that how can I put this, that has itself fixed, so to speak, to put it lightly. Okay, that snip snip, but that's one definition for the word eunuch. But I believe it was Yahweh Shai that said there are some men that are eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. Meaning what? That there are certain men that have made a conscious choice to not deal with women. Okay, they haven't went and had their self fixed. Okay, they're still fully intact as a man, physically, but they made a decision not to deal with women or to have a wife. Okay, they're solely focused on doing the work. Okay, focus on the ministry and things of this nature. Okay, that's why and that's an honorable thing for a man. Okay, to actually choose that particular lifestyle of being a eunuch for the kingdom of heaven's sake, right? I want to say it's in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3. Brothers can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3. It talks about how the eunuch will be given the special gift of faith. Okay, because again, that's an honorable thing. And then if you go to Isaiah chapter 56, okay, if you go to Isaiah chapter 56, remember where it says, let not the eunuch say, I am a dry tree, right? Now, what is a dry tree? A dry tree is a tree that does not produce fruit, okay? So, in retrospect, that's what is the fruit of a man's loins is what? Children. Okay, so when it says, let not the eunuch say I'm a dry tree, it's basically telling the eunuch, don't be sorrowful just because you haven't had children because of your lifestyle choice. Okay, because in the kingdom, of course, those eunuchs that chose to have that lifestyle in this kingdom, in the kingdom to come, you'll have children. Okay, so don't be sorrowful over that, right? And also, when you can continue reading, it tells us what? That the eunuch is going to be given a name above that of sons and daughters. Meaning what? In the kingdom, they're going to get have a high regard, or they're going to have a high honor. They're going to get a special type of honor for actually being a eunuch and choosing that lifestyle, okay, in the kingdom. So, don't be sorrowful over those things, over never having children, because you'll have children in the kingdom, and you'll have that special honor in the kingdom as well, okay, for being a eunuch, right? But, not to digress too much, but yeah, that's why there's a difference there, madam. Men and women are not the same, okay? But anyway, let's continue.
Either way, shame has no place in someone's personal decisions about sex. It's time to throw away the notion of losing your virginity.
And notice, they want to get rid of the notion of shame, okay? And they've been doing that since the inception of feminism. Okay, but really even more within the last decade here. They've really tried to destroy the concept of shame. Okay, that's why they call it slut shaming. Okay, but she really just contradicted herself again. She said that there should be no room for shame in a person's personal choices about sex. But then she goes on to say we need to throw away the notion of losing your virginity. Well, madam, by you saying that, are you not shaming virgins? Okay, they love to always talk about this notion of slut shaming, but there is a such thing as virgin shaming too. Okay, what about the female that made a conscious decision to remain, quote unquote, a virgin or remain pure? Okay, you don't think that that last part of that statement was insulting to her? See, what here's the thing, and this is why feminism is really a bunch of foolishness. Okay, they'll say that feminism is about choice. Okay, this is what feminists will say, and we all know feminism was never about choice. But this is what they'll say. See, they'll support women and women's choices as long as those choices align with their ideology. But as soon as a woman makes a choice that's contrary to their viewpoints as feminists, then comes the shaming. They'll shame that particular woman. Okay, there's no more support. They only support women that think like them. Okay, they're not for women simply for being women. Okay, the new thing for women to say is that they're a girl's girl. Okay, but that's not the case. Okay, they only support women when they align, when their choices align with their ideology. Okay, and again, that sounds really like what people like to call a cult. Okay, you have to think this particular way, or is or we don't support you, right? But anyway, let's get back to it.
What if instead of losing something, we reframe it as gaining?
Oh boy. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. They like to make up words, or they like to change definitions. Right? And again, let me ask you something. What exactly are you gaining as a woman from, quote unquote, having sex for the first time? What are you gaining? Okay, please explain. You know what? I got to do it again, y'all. Oh, here we go. I got to do it again because that was stupid. Okay, I got to do it.
Sit your ass down.
I mean, come on. Really? You want to take away the concept of losing your virginity and replace it with actually gaining something for having sex for the first time, as far as females go. Okay, let's continue. Let's actually see how she tries to justify this stupid statement. Okay, let's take a look.
Because the truth is, when we make our own decision to become sexually active, we aren't setting ourselves up to lose anything at all. We hope we are gaining things like intimacy, self-insight, pleasure, and empowerment.
Okay, so let's dissect this. Okay, let's start from the top of what she thinks you're gaining. Okay, she says intimacy. Okay, well, this shows how narrow-minded she is, because intimacy isn't always sexual. Okay, intimacy doesn't have to have a sexual connotation to it. Okay, actually, even if it even if you're dealing with sex, okay, usually there's intimacy that actually happens before that actually leads up to the sexual act. The intimacy usually comes first. So in retrospect, you can actually have intimacy while being a virgin. Okay, and that's something she doesn't understand. Okay, because like I just said, intimacy is not even always sexual. Okay, then she goes on to say what? Self insight. Madam, what are you learning about yourself by having sex for the first time? What are you gaining? What type of self insight? Okay. Now she'll probably say, "Well, I'm learning what I like and don't like sexually." Well, and this is why they try to push this notion on women that they should have more than one partner throughout their lifetime, because if they don't really truly know what they like sexually. You have to have more than one partner for that, rather than telling them that you can learn about what you like sexually with one partner. Okay, but they'll tell women this lie because they want to make these women out to be whores. They're trying to justify that. Okay, why does it take multiple people or multiple men for you to learn what your likes and dislikes sexually? Okay, that's something you're supposed to be learning with one man and one man only, and that's your husband. Okay, and that in turn actually builds intimacy. It's really a byproduct of what she just said, but again, she really wouldn't understand that. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Pleasure. Okay, well, that's not always the case for all women. Okay, there's actually plenty of women that have said that their first experience with sex was not pleasurable at all. Right? Then she goes on to say empowerment, which is, just more feminist psychobabble. Okay, that's all that is. Okay. Okay, but anyway, let's get back to it.
All of these myths around sex and virginity can be so hurtful and overwhelming.
Madam, you haven't listed not one myth concerning sex and virginity. Okay? Everything you said about sex and especially virginity, it was pretty much a lie. Okay? You didn't disprove it to be a myth. Okay? All you've done throughout this whole video was pretty much contradict yourself on numerous occasions. Okay? And you've tried to redefine words to actually suit how you feel. That's all you've done. You haven't shown anything to be a myth. Okay?
But here's the one truth you should remember. Sex is defined by one thing and one thing only: you.
Bingo. What did I literally just say? All she's been doing this whole video is doing what? Redefining words. And what did she just say? Sex is defined by one thing, and that's you. Meaning what? You can make up your own definition of what sex is. Again, that's Modern Woman 101. Okay, so let's continue. Let's see what she says next here.
Maybe that's being fingered for the first time. Maybe it's having anal sex. Maybe it's having your first orgasm. Maybe it's masturbating for the first time, or when you enthusiastically consent to sex. That's the beauty of your sexual journey. You're in charge, and you can figure it out on your own terms.
And that's the problem. They're steady trying to push this rebelliousness off on women, to have this rebellious nature. Okay, because when you say stuff like you define what sex is and you're in charge, what does that do? Okay, because remember, her target audience is really middle school and high school. So when you make statements like that, you're taking away the authority of the parents, more specifically the father. Okay, when you say stuff like you're in charge and this, that, and the third, You're taking away that authority. Okay, this is the problem. See, women, when left to their own devices, tend to destroy their own lives and the lives of people around them. Okay, this is why they need a head. They need authority over them, male authority over them. Okay, but this is something that, the powers that be has strategically been trying to destroy for decades now. They've been trying to destroy the authority that the father has over the daughter. Okay? But anyway, let's continue.
Choosing to have sex. When, what kind, where, who with.
And notice what they did here. Okay, this was very slick on their part. Look at what they put the most emphasis on. Okay, look at the bigger words and what's in yellow. She said, what kind and who with. Okay, in which both of those instances can go into fornication. What kind of sex? That can literally go into fornication, because there are things that are prohibited according to Torah. Then she said, who with, which again, certain people are prohibited, meaning what? Same-sex marriage. Okay, two men being together and two women being together. Okay, and of course, pedophilia. Those things are, and bestiality. Those things are prohibited. But she said who with and what kind. They put emphasis on that. Okay, and even if you're dealing with the who with, even if it's actually a heterosexual thing, okay, she's saying that that's all up to you. Who with? Really, women should not be choosing their own suitors. Okay, I know that's a controversial thing to say, but if you know me, Kaniba, you should know that I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Okay, women should not be choosing their own suitors. Not really. Okay, that vocation should be left to a woman's father. Okay, I am an advocate for arranged marriages. But really, just look at the evidence, okay? Look at what's going on in our modern day. Okay, women now have been choosing their own suitors for quite a while. And just look at what's going on. Have they been doing better at choosing suitors than, back in the day when you actually had arranged marriages? Are they making great choices based on the results that we see today? If the answer is no, then they shouldn't be choosing their own suitors. Common sense. Okay? But anyway, let's continue.
Is something that only you get to define.
Right, so it ended by her saying that those things are something that only you can define. Okay? So that was basically the end of the video from Planned Parenthood. Okay? So now what I want to do to close off my video, I actually want to go to some scriptures. Okay? We're going to actually go into the scriptures and look at our own culture to see just how important a woman's virginity is. First, to prove that it's an actual concept, in which we really already know that. So what we're going to do, we're going to prove the importance of a woman's virginity. Okay? So without further ado, let's actually get into the scriptures. Okay? So we're going to go into Torah. Okay? And we're going to start here to prove this point. All right? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 22, and we're going to start with verse 13. And it reads, it says, if any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her. Now, when it says and go in unto her, that's dealing with what? Sex. The actual definition of sex. Go in unto her. Intercourse. Okay? Then it goes on to say, and hate her, okay, for whatever reason, right? So now let's continue. Let's see what the next verse says, okay? So this is verse 14, and it reads, it says, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, now watch closely, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Now the KJV translated that word as maid. And it's really not a good translation of that word, okay? When you go in the Hebrew, that word is Bethula, okay? Which really means a virgin. It really should say, I found her not a virgin. Okay, when you look at most other translations of this verse, it doesn't say maid, it says virgin. Okay, and that Hebrew word, Bethula, okay, that's the Hebrew word for virgin, where it's literally talking about a woman that's never had sex. Okay, not to be confused with the Hebrew word alma, which can also be translated as virgin, but it's talking about a young woman of marriageable age. Okay, but this word here is Bethula, okay, which is dealing with a woman that's never had sex. So he said he didn't find her a virgin, meaning when I slept with her, I come to find out she had already had sex before. Okay, so now let's look at the next verse. So moving forward, this is verse 15, and it reads, it says, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity. There we go. There's the word. The tokens of the damsel's virginity. And when you look that up in the Hebrew, it's still that word Bethula. Okay. It says, unto the elders of the city in the gates. Okay, now what is the tokens of the damsel's virginity? What is that? Okay, what you have to understand in ancient Israel, when the marriage is consummated, you would take those sheets that the man and the woman had sex on. Because, again, if she's a virgin, usually what tends to happen when the woman's hymen is torn, what happens? She bleeds. So they'll take the sheets that has the blood on it as evidence that their daughter was indeed a virgin. Okay, so much for this not being a real concept. Okay, but that's what would happen. Okay, the parents of the wife would keep that as evidence that their daughter was indeed a virgin. Okay, let's look at the next verse. This is verse 16, and it reads, it says, and the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. Okay, so basically they're going to bring this the issue to the leadership, to the elders. Okay, and they're going to have the evidence with them, which is what? The tokens of the damsel's virginity. All right, let's look at the next verse. This is verse 17, and it reads, it says, and lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid or a virgin. It says, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. So he got the receipts. He has the proof that his daughter was indeed a virgin. Okay, by what? The sheets, the bed sheets. Okay, that has the blood on it, right? It says, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. Okay, let's continue. Let's move forward. This is verse 18, and it reads, it says, and the elders of the city of that city shall take that man and chastise him. Okay, now when you look up that word chastise in the Hebrew, when you look at the definition, it can literally mean to physically chastise him. Okay, so what would happen is he would physically really get beat up for bringing that type of accusation against a woman, saying she wasn't a virgin when she really was. That's how serious of a matter that is, accusing a woman of not being a virgin when she actually was. Okay, an Israelite woman. Okay, so he would get chastised physically. Okay, and that's not it. It doesn't end there. Let's see what else has to happen to him. Okay, let's look at the next verse. This is verse 19, and it reads, it says, and they shall immerse him, and that word immerse means to be penalized, or you're fined. Okay, they give him a fine. It says, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver. So he would be fined 100 shekels of silver. It says, and give them unto the father of the damsel. Okay, so basically, if you make a false accusation like that, saying that a man's daughter wasn't a virgin when he gave them to you, and she actually was, okay, first you get physically chastised, then you're fined 100 shekels of silver that you have to pay to that woman's father. Okay, so it goes on to say what? And give them unto the father of the damsel. Watch this. It says, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. Allow me to repeat that part. Because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. See, that was a very honorable thing, a highly honorable thing, to be regarded as a virgin of Israel. Okay, if you were an Israelite woman. Okay, and that was a very serious matter, to be falsely accused of basically being a whore. Okay, when you're actually a virgin of Israel. Okay, that's given her a bad reputation, and in turn, what that's doing, that's giving her father and his family name a bad reputation. Okay, because first of all, his daughter was a whore, and basically he broke his promise to that man. He had promised that man that he would, when he gave him his daughter, that she was a virgin. Okay, but then if it turns out she wasn't, that's now giving him the father a bad reputation. You see the trickle down effect? Okay, the scriptures tell you in Proverbs chapter 22 that a good name is to be chosen over great riches, right? So again, that's a very important thing, your reputation in Israel. Okay, and if you give that type of false accusation, that's very serious. It can tarnish a person's reputation, the female and her father and her family's name. Okay, so moving forward, this is verse 20, and it reads, it says, but if the thing be true, meaning on the flip side, if the accusation is actually true, okay, it says, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, meaning the parents don't have the receipts. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's look at the next verse. Verse 21, and it reads, it says, then shall they bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel. And watch closely, to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you. Okay, so in this instance, if the accusation is true, they take the woman to the door of her father's house, in front of her father's house. And the men of the city, they stoned her to death. Okay. So again, this is showing the seriousness of a woman and her virginity, the virginity of a woman. Okay, it's a very serious thing, a very important thing. It's not something that doesn't exist. Okay, but we went here in Torah to actually show the importance of that. Right? So now let's take a look at something else here. Okay, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 42. Okay, and let's deal with the relationship between a father and a daughter. Okay, because what you have to understand is there is a special bond between a father and a daughter. Okay, we know that fathers have that with their sons too, but there's this special bond between a father and a daughter. Okay, so let's deal with this, right? Let's take a look at this. This is Sirach chapter 42 and verse 9. And it reads, it says, the father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. Okay, so how much he loves and cares for his daughter, okay, it causes him to worry about her to the point where he loses sleep. Okay, and what we're about to read a list of things that a father worries about concerning his daughter that causes him to lose sleep. Okay, let's see what this list is. Let's read some things here. It says, actually, let's start from the top again. It says, the father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. Now watch closely. It says, when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age. So this is dealing with basically when it says lest she pass the flower of her age, meaning when she gets older. So this is basically a father worrying about whether or not his daughter will ever get married. Okay, because you got to understand, this is dealing with ancient times. Okay, back in the ancient days, there was a negative connotation or a stigma to a woman that, got older and never got married. Okay, even if you bring it more up to date, still back in the day, but more up to date, that woman was called an old maid. Okay, because there's a stigma to an older woman that's never been married. Okay, to give you even give you an example in prophecy. Okay, look at Isaiah chapter 4. Okay, when it talks about in the future how 7 women shall take hold of one man, right? Saying, we'll eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name, meaning what? Having his last name, being married to him. To do what? To take away our reproach. That reproach of not being married. Because there's a stigma behind it, right? That's why, back in the day when a woman would get married, they say the man made an honest woman out of her. Okay? So the verse goes on to say, and being married, meaning on the flip side, if she actually does get married, so he still worries, and he worries about this. It says, lest she should be hated. So on the flip side, if she does get married, he worries about how she's being treated within that marriage. Okay, if the husband is doing right by her. Okay, that's why it says, lest she should be hated. So he's worrying about how his daughter is being treated by her husband. Okay, that's why when you go into the book of Sirach, I want to say chapter 7, when it talks about if a man marries off his daughter, he has performed a weighty matter, meaning it's a very important thing. Okay, it holds weight. It's a very serious and important thing who he actually gives his daughter to be a wife to. Okay, because again, he's going to worry about these things. He's going to worry about how she's being treated within that marriage. Okay, so moving forward, this is the next verse, and this is the point. Okay, so this is verse 10, and it reads, it says, in her virginity. Remember, these are the things that the father worries about and he loses sleep over. It's giving you a list of things, right? So it says, in her virginity. Allow me to repeat that part. In her virginity. So the daughter's virginity is something that the father worries about. He loses sleep over. Again, showing the importance of a woman's virginity it is something that actually exists, and it is something that's very, very valuable. Okay, let's continue. It says, in her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house. See, this is one of the things that the father worries about. Okay, some knucklehead that only wants sex. He only wants one thing from his daughter and gets her knocked up. You can bring that up today. To this day, fathers still worry about these things. Okay, to the point where you can watch TV sitcoms and movies where they actually make a joke out of it. Okay, you'll have a show where, you know, the father is up and it may be the daughter's prom, or it may be her first date she's getting ready for, and, you know, the father is worried. Okay, he's skeptical of the boy that she's going out with. Okay, and he's very, very worried about his daughter. Okay, remember that scene on Bad Boys 2 with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and how they was grilling the boy, Reggie, that was about to take out Martin Lawrence's daughter for the first time? You saw how they grilled him? Okay, but again, he was worried about his daughter's virginity. Remember, before they left, what was the last thing Martin said to him? He asked the boy. Now, we know men can't physically be a virgin, but, you know, they don't know that. But what Martin said, he asked Reggie, he said, you a virgin? The boy said, yeah. He said, good, keep it that way. Ain't gonna be no fucking tonight. Okay, but again, excuse my language, but that's what he said, because he was worried about his daughter's virginity. Okay, just giving you an example, right? But what Hollywood has done is they've tried to make a joke out of this, to the point where they try to make the father out to look overbearing, okay, when he's really just doing his job. That's the way he's supposed to be. Okay, it's natural. He worries about his daughter in that way, dealing with her virginity. Okay, so the verse goes on to say what? It says, and having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself. So not only does he worry about how she's being treated within the marriage if she's married, but he also worries about how she's conducting herself as a wife. Okay, that's why it says lest she should misbehave herself, right? So it goes on to say what? And when she is married, lest she should be barren. So he worries about, you know, whether or not his daughter will be able to have children. Okay, because that's a very, very important thing, especially in ancient times. Okay, it's not like today where women look at children as a burden, as something that's, you know, like a ball and chain on them. They look at having children negatively, but that's a very, very high honor in ancient Israel. Okay, for a woman to be able to bear children, especially if she bears a son. Okay, but having children was like hitting the lottery. Okay, again, look at how Rachel and Leah was dealing with Jacob and how important that was for them to have children. Right? But these are the things that the father worries about. And we went here to show that the daughter's virginity is one of the things that the father worries about. Okay? Because a woman's virginity is something that's of high value. Okay? So from here, let's actually take a look at something else here. All right? So this is going to be Sirach chapter 9 and verse 5. Okay? We're going to pick something out here. We're going to place emphasis on something here. Okay? So this is Sirach chapter 9 and verse 5. And it reads, it says, gaze not on a maid. It says, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. Allow me to repeat that part. That thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. Okay, what is that talking about? Those things that are precious in her. Okay, it really shouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what that's talking about. Okay, the box. Okay, the kitty cat. Okay, that's what it's talking about. Okay, those things that are precious in her. But we went here to point out something. The fact that it's called what? Precious. Okay, that's why it's called that. So, and how much more if she's actually a virgin? Okay, it's considered precious. So that's why women should not be going around just giving it away frivolously to any and whoever and all these multiple men. Okay, that's why there's really supposed to be an element of shame when women do that. It's supposed to be. Okay, you have something that's considered precious by the Most High, and you're giving it away to any and everybody. Okay, something that's precious is supposed to be a rarity. Okay, and it's not supposed to be for everybody. It's supposed to be exclusive to one person. Okay, and that's your husband. Okay, but we went here to show that it's called precious. All right, so now we're going to get one more verse. Okay, we're going to take a look at something. It's a short verse, but it speaks volumes. And it speaks volumes as to why Planned Parenthood made the video that they made about virginity. Okay, let's end it with this. Let's go to this last verse here. So this is Sirach chapter 16 and verse 49. And it reads, now it's giving a comparison to something. Okay, it says this. It says, like as a whore envieth a right, honest, and virtuous woman. Okay, so it's talking about the level of envy that a whore has for a right, honest, and virtuous woman. Okay, when you actually read the next verse, it's comparing how the righteous would basically hate evil or wickedness. Okay, the level of envy that a whore has against a virtuous woman is the same level of hatred that the righteous will have towards the wicked. Okay, that's the comparison. But the overall point I'm trying to make here is the fact that, even in ancient times, they understood that whores actually envy virtuous women. Okay, and for a woman to actually value her virginity, that's a level of virtue on her part. Okay, so bringing this up to date, It's just showing that this verse is true. That's why they made that video basically trying to shame virginity. Okay, because again, these are, and no disrespect, but these are, you have some of these women that they are whores. And they actually envy the woman that is still a virgin, because those women, the other women, actually made bad decisions in their life. They made bad decisions and they gave up their virginity to the wrong man. And a lot of them regret it now. And because they feel like they have a missed opportunity or they misused their virginity, now they have to shame the next woman that still has her virginity because of that level of envy. That's what's going on here. The scriptures is undefeated. The scriptures are true. And we're seeing that with this Planned Parenthood video. Okay? But anyway, I believe this is actually a good place to end this video. And again, the title of the video is More Proof that Planned Parenthood is meant to destroy Israelite women. Okay, so we watched this atrocity of a video talking about from Planned Parenthood. we stomached it, and we basically dissected it, and I gave my critique. Then of course we went into the scriptures to pretty much dispel the notion that virginity is not a real thing. We dispelled that. Okay, not only did we dispel that, but we actually showed the high importance of a woman's virginity, okay, in accordance to the scriptures. Okay, and to you sisters, don't let anybody try and shame you and tell you otherwise. Okay, it is very important, okay, for you sisters that may still be virgins. Okay, and even if some of you sisters that are not virgins, okay, it's still never too late to practice chastity. Okay, the scriptures tell you what, that when you come into the faith, you are a new creature. You're a new creature in Hamashiach. Okay, now we know you're not physically a virgin again, but it's still not saying that you can't conduct yourself as such. Okay, because again, you should still value yourself, though the things that are precious within you is still precious. Okay, so it's it's never too late to have that mind frame of chastity. It's still very, very valuable in the eyesight of the Most High Yahweh. Okay, so with that, and as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father, and I do so by Hashem, which means in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. And I want to thank all you brothers and sisters for tuning in. I hope this video was informative and edifying. And until next time, Shalom, family.